Any comments, any questions about the Tonglen meditation?
First time this happened when everybody else dissolved and I was alone. I felt lonely. So it's such an interesting thing.
With the front visualization of yourself?
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm gonna
It's nice with everybody there, right? Interesting. It is interesting through visualization. Some people have trouble with visualization. I understand that, and I think some purification practices can help. But if you're alone, if you're doing solitary retreat, you visualize. Sometimes you have a practice. You visualize a merit field. You know, your Buddhas and like a Lama Tsongkhapa merit field. Do we have one here somewhere? Anyway, you know, it's nice. And so, yes, like that that's like a refuge field. Yeah, there's one, the smaller one there in the gold frame. And so I know I was at Laudo and some people have come up and it's very remote and then they said, well, didn't you get lonely up there? And then many times I've been up there on my birthday and nobody there, the Sherpas don't know birthday, they don't have that kind of concept really. I mean, they do a little bit now, but not really at Laudo. So then they said, well, what, birthday, you didn't tell anybody it was your birthday? You're alone? And I said, I had my merit field all singing happy birthday to me and my visualization, like I'm not alone, it's like, so it's how real you'd like to make it, I think, with your practice. And it can really be joyful. You want to try to find the joy in your practice. It's important because it takes a lot of effort and sometimes you feel like you're slogging through. So it's very powerful to really find, jazz it up for yourself. You're keeping the Dharma the same. An example I give is I was at Laudo the first time and I was there maybe 3 months and it was my first solo retreat and it was very difficult to be alone with your mind in the beginning. So I was doing these practices and I would visualize this merit field of all these Buddhas and, as best as I could. And it was very cold there. So, I had them all with little mufflers and caps on and hat, and when it was my birthday, they all had birthday hats and like, woo, the noisemakers, and why not? So, it was what I did to uplift my mind. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no, I was trying my best. So get creative like that. Any other comments? Yes.
I haven't done much of the visualization with the Tonglen. Usually when I do compassion practice, it's working with phrases like, may you be free of suffering, I care about your suffering. So with the visualization, like breathing in, like I imagine breathing in like a dark, sort of smoky kind of substance representing the suffering, and breathing out like bright, clear light. But like when I take it into the body, is it like, does it just transform by itself from dark to light, or am I like using the power of the heart center? Am I transforming it? Or does it, like what happens right here?
Yeah, in a sense, you just visualize that if I've got a knot at my heart center, it's not really in the organ, the heart, but kind of the core. And I just imagine that it goes there where it's cleaning that away. And then it becomes white. Or if in your case, it becomes light, some kind of white light. So you're making it happen through your visualization. You are imagining that happening. But it's important to have your self-cherishing diminishing through the process. It's going directly to that, cleaning that.
Okay, so imagining like there's a knot of some sort and then that.
And the knot is decreasing, or eliminating.
As I breathe in the suffering.
Mm-hmm. And then because you're without the knot of self-cherishing, I'm in a deeper space of happiness and peace. And from there I offer all the goodness, all the positive happiness you can imagine. Yeah. I hope that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. It was okay to breathe in because we were expanding the number of beings, and I think when we got to like all of California, that was when I started to feel like resistance, and like I wasn't able to take it into my body anymore, but I knew that the feeling was like to come into contact with the suffering. So I just felt like, okay, I'll bring it here. I'm not going to take it into my body, but I'll have it like visualize it here, like in front of me, so that I'm still in contact with it, but I'm not taking it into my body anymore.
And you were saying, why couldn't you take it into your body?
Just, there was a sense of resistance, like I can't, it's too much.
Sure. Yep. That's why I like to start with myself. You can always go back and just do it with yourself or do it with a small number. No problem. Because it is big. Some people start Tonglen and it's everybody. It's too much. So just do what you can do. Try your best. Yep. Try your best. But I would then go back to a simpler visualization so that I can let it diminish the self-cherishing inside of me and then release from there. Yeah. Sounds great. Yes.
I found listening to you and also doing the meditation to be very helpful. I had a family crisis with my younger sister's family in mid-March, so it's been about 1.5 months, and it's been very hard. I felt a sense of division between us, and I love them very much, and then also a sense of isolation. And then at the beginning of your teaching, shortly after 2 o'clock, one of the 3 points that you talked about was common humanity.
Shared humanity, yeah.
Yes, shared humanity. That really touched my heart. I just felt like, yes, I'm not isolated. There are other people who may feel very similar emotion, and I'm not really alone. I find it hard to meditate just in general, and then especially Tonglen by myself. But somehow being guided by you here, it was like coming home, like shoop, and it all made sense. It all made sense. It's just, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I wish it was like that for, that easy, right? No, thank you. I mean, it's nice. We also have a connection from long ago, but it is, it's helpful. Sometimes and I like to go to hear a variety of teachers when I can, and Western teachers too, because I learn something every time of like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, and we're in different phases of our lives. So sometimes something just grabs you at that particular moment. So it's helpful. And it's interesting because in mid-March, I have an older sister, and my family is very close, and I'm very close with her. And we had a little tangle in mid-March around my father's care. And it wasn't major, but it was suddenly this energy at the same time of and I was kind of like, what is this? What is going on here? We don't usually have that. So there must have been something going on with sisters in mid-March that were... But then you realize it is a shared humanity because you have it going on, I had it going on. There's so many other people that are fragmented from their families. And so then you realize I'm not really alone in this. There's other people going through this.
Yeah. I also felt, I think I was resisting completely letting go. I thought I was really trying, but no. It's really nice to just let it go down and yes, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. So I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to talk about emptiness. That is what really cuts the root of the suffering, and it goes so well. It's the other part, the other hand from bodhicitta, the method. This is our view. This is our view, wisdom, the view. They talk about the wisdom realizing emptiness or emptiness. It's all the same. And what we're talking about, and this is the hardest part to get a sense of, that, and one thing I want to just go back to Tonglen for a minute. If you can't do a lot of other practice, but we have to breathe anyway, and you can start familiarizing yourself with Tonglen, right? If you just get this and so familiar in your mind and you're dying and this is what comes up, I'm dying. If you're dying a slow death, if you're dying of old age, if you have an illness, right? I'm dying. All the other people with this situation, could I imagine here lying in this bed taking on their suffering? Let it diminish my self-cherishing. Let me give them all my happiness and my wonderful life. If that's what you're thinking when you die, I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty powerful for the mind. It's so good in many circumstances as well. Through your life, you'll find. So with emptiness, what's helpful for us to think about, and this is the hardest part, is to understand that when things are empty, what we mean by empty is they lack inherent nature. They lack having inherent nature. Okay, they're absent of having that. And so what inherent nature is a concrete, independent existence. And these are words that are synonyms of inherent nature. Intrinsic value, concrete existence, independent nature, existing from its own side, with its own character, permanently, never changing. Okay. So it's really this intrinsic quality we impute on everything. And what we call is we reify things, concretize things. It's all the same word, all the same meaning. So you make a solidly existing thing. And I'm just talking about things now. But this is the way we also have a concept of ourself. The I, capital I letter, not the organ, the I. Myself, the notion of myself, center of my universe, independently existing for all time, unchanging, concretely existing. So what happens is if I take something like this, what is this? A pen, okay? So we say there's two truths. There's a conventional truth or conventional reality, and there is an ultimate truth or ultimate reality. Two truths. And what emptiness study and meditation wants you to do is you have to analyze how things exist. You have to analyze how things exist. Some people say, well, what's the point of that? If you want to stop suffering, you need to analyze how your I exists, because that's the cause of the suffering. So first with bodhicitta, we have self-cherishing, the self-absorption, selfishness, I'm so much better than other people, okay? With ignorance, that is not from not having a direct perception of emptiness, we have self-grasping. So let me explain how it works. So there are two unfortunate situations that arise from beginningless time, as long as in our mind we have not penetrated ignorance. We're sustaining ignorance through familiarity. We agree, we have a conventional agreement that this is a pen, as far as human beings on this part of the planet with our language. Conventional truth. Some people call it mistaken truth, because we're not interacting and seeing the pen accurately and interpreting the pen accurately. So there's different schools of interpretation of how the pen exists that you have to kind of go through to understand why do I suffer. One school says this pen comes into existence based on causes and conditions. Based on causes and conditions. What does that mean? Well, in ancient days, people started recording their history on cave walls with different materials and elements in the world at that time. And things got more sophisticated if you fast forward, and ink was created, and ink wells, and people started to have fountain pens, and they would dip in and they would write and record things. And then we fast forward to our current time when plastic was invented. Somebody had a factory and said, I think I'll make some money and I'm going to mass produce big pens. And these are the causes and conditions, people recording history, the pen evolving, how this pen comes into existence based on causes and conditions. Everybody with me? Okay. Another school says this pen comes into existence based on its parts. Parts of the pen are pretty easy to see. We have a cap. I'm going to call this the top of the pen. I'm going to call this the bottom. You might reverse it and call it otherwise, okay? It's got a metal thing here and all the stuff that makes up that metal point, okay? It has this bottom little plastic blue thing that goes in to keep the ink cartridge in there. Inside there's an ink cartridge. You can see the ink in there. I've got the outside, the outer container of a plastic pen. And then I've got all the materials that go into that, all the molecules that make up these things. Everybody with me? Parts of the pen, I'm going to call them. Parts of the pen. You want to investigate the parts to find the pen. Because some people, if I say, where's the pen? And somebody goes, the pen's right there. You have to be very specific with emptiness analysis. Pen's right there. I'm going to say, right there? You mean this little piece? I'm going to take that piece out. That's the pen, a little piece of plastic? You'll say, no, that's not the pen. Okay, so where's the pen? It's in your hand. This in my hand, if I took this bottom part off that's in my hand, held that up, that's not a pen. It also has to function like a pen. Okay? So what happens, what appears to our consciousness, okay, and just look at it from this way. And so if you the first thing you do is analyze the parts of the pen. Is this a pen? No, it's a cap. It has a different term. This is the cap of the pen. If I took the little metal thing off, you're looking for the pen now. Okay, we're all together. We're looking for the pen. I take the little metal thing off and hold that up. That's not pen. Okay, we know the blue bottom thing, I take it out, is not pen. Any of the pieces of the plastic I take off and say pen, even if I took the plastic outer out alone and held that up to you with no ink cartridge in it, no top, that's not pen, right? Are you with me? Tell me if you disagree. We're all okay. If I take the ink cartridge out and hold that up, is that pen? Okay. So we would say that's an ink cartridge. That has a different label, different term. It's not really pen, it's an ink cartridge. Different, okay? So you go through and analyze, and it's interesting because now that we just look at these parts, do you find the pen in any of the parts of the pen? Anybody? Do you find the pen in any of the parts of the pen? No. Okay. What's the problem? Where's the pen then? We just looked through the parts. Is there a pen there in any of the parts? We said no. Okay? So what happens is, to the data, and I'm going to say our sense faculties of our visual consciousness, our eyes take in the pen. I happen to be holding it, but for all the rest of you, it's your eyes. The parts come together in a certain configuration, and then my mind sees the data that's there, okay, and places a label on the data. And in our part of the world, with our language, we put pen there. According to the highest school, Prasangika Madhyamaka, my mind labels pen, and then the pen comes into existence. My mind merely imputes pen on a valid basis of designation. On a valid basis of designation. The valid basis of designation is, in this case, a plastic cylindrical tube filled with ink that writes. I'm not calling it a pen, I'm calling it a plastic cylindrical tube filled with ink that writes. My mind takes in that data, and there's a labeling process. Okay? So what happens is your mind comes in, and in this case with visual consciousness, it's your visual consciousness from your mind that interacts with your eye, the organ, and allows you to see. And now you're taking in the data through the eye, the organ, with my visual sense consciousness, and I see a plastic cylindrical tube filled with ink that writes that's a valid basis of designation. I'm not aware of the labeling process. Okay, there's a gap due to my ignorance. Okay, my ignorance covers over the gap. But in the next instantaneous, there's a valid basis of designation forms for my consciousness. The next instant, my mind labels pen. The pen comes into existence. But what the problem is I've glommed together the valid basis of designation with an inherently existent pen that appears to my consciousness. With an inherently existent pen that appears to my consciousness. A solidly existing, independent of any causes or conditions, independent of any parts pen that appears to my consciousness. Ignorance. Due to ignorance. I see it this way. That's not really the only problem. The problem is when I see it as inherently existent, solidly, independently existent, and then I say, mine, my pen. And that's where all your suffering starts. Are you with me? Okay? So that's the way we interpret ourself. That's the way we interpret everything we interact with, due to fundamental ignorance in our mental consciousness. That's all. We don't have a direct perception of emptiness. We haven't penetrated the wisdom. So now pen is a mundane thing. Okay? You're in a parking lot. Somebody opens the door into your car. You see it happening from across the parking lot. What is your response? What emptiness does is it diffuses the negative reactive experiences you have from your mind's side. Diffuses the experience. Again, let me go back to the parts of the pen. We looked through the parts and didn't find a pen. You have to do this over and over. You look through the parts and didn't find a pen. If you look through the parts and you didn't find a pen, you can't put all the parts together and then say there's a pen there. Because you already looked through the parts. There was no pen. So putting all the parts together, you can't find a pen. What you find is a collection of parts that become a valid basis of designation for my mind to label. Again, according to the karma of beings on this part of the planet with our language, I see the information and then I label pen. But when I label pen, a solidly existing pen appears to my consciousness due to my fundamental ignorance. And then I take ownership of it. Mine, me, my kid, my car, my house, my job. And that's where all the suffering starts. So if you're soaking your mind in emptiness through doing a lot of study on emptiness, reading books on emptiness, starting with simpler ones first, I would recommend some of the simpler Lamrim books. There's a beautiful book called Insight into Emptiness. Geshe Lama Konchog. Geshe Jampa Tekchog. Insight into Emptiness. It's great. He used to teach in this area. You want to study. You want to understand. If you don't understand something, go back over it. Ask another student until you understand. Then go to the next page. Understand. Learn how to meditate on emptiness. Slowly, over time. And what happens is it starts to dismantle the grasping onto the self. Okay? So I have self-cherishing when I'm thinking of myself first. Okay? But then I have a false sense of how myself arises, and I grasp onto it. And that's the suffering. That's what causes all of our suffering. Those two things. Okay? The self-grasping being fundamental to the self-cherishing, being the foundation of it. So I really can't encourage you enough, and I know we're out of time, and I'm sorry. I would have loved to have had more time. But this is the kind of stuff that does empower you, is when I have a little bit of notion of emptiness in my mind, because you're like, how does it relate to my daily life, how things exist? Who cares? Okay? But when somebody opens their door into your car in a parking lot and you're across parking and you see it, right? For some of you in this room, your response may have been, hey, jerk. And you go running over and you have a nasty interaction with them. That's my car. Da-da-da. Well, do you not understand the nature of your car? Where is your car anyway? Your car is a conglomeration, a collection of fiberglass and steel and glass and windshield and carburetor and chassis and engine and all that. And the nature of it, when you drove it off the lot, whether you bought it used or new, is it's deteriorating right this moment, your car. I hate to tell you that. Its nature is to get dinged because we live in samsara. That's its nature. Why are you going to get upset about it? You don't want to ding? Then park all the way across the parking lot. If you want to be that fastidious, some people do that. Okay, that's okay. Just depends on, is your mind going to be peaceful? Again, so somebody shows up in your thing and you don't like them. Did you ever consider, what am I really interacting with here? Oh, I've got karmic seeds ripening right now of some kind of distaste. I must have done something negative in the past with my body, speech, and mind. Right now, those seeds are coming to fruition, causing me to underestimate the reality that's out there. And so I don't like this person. But that's all that's happening. I'm interpreting this person, but the fact that I'm suffering with them now and not liking this and kind of a little displeasure, or it could be big displeasure, Buddhism would see it also as a form of purification. Can I understand, how does the person exist? Again, I got the fleshy oblong thing here, the torso, the four appendages, the material, the hair, the colored eyes, and then this is opening. If I have negative karmic seeds from the past ripening right now, the sound that will come out of that, I am going to label on that something unpleasant. Okay? Because I'm imputing an inherently existent negativity on the jerk at work, on the person that upsets me. Okay? But isn't it interesting, if they were inherently existent, and this is the way inherently existent things are, they're frozen in time and space. Inherently existing things do not have any ability to change because they don't come from other things. They're not a product. This is a product. I just mentioned that. Plastic, molecules, pieces. It's all assembled. It comes from something else. Look around you. Everything comes from something else. Everything's a product of something else, as are we. Amy is labeled on my body and mind. That's it. When I came out in the delivery room, if Amy was inherently existent, which is the way I often experience Amy, then that Amy would be for all time Amy. When I came out in the delivery room where I was born, the entire staff of the delivery room would go, look over and go, oh, it's Amy. But what came out was baby girl. And on that valid basis of designation, my parents put a label, Amy, and then Amy comes into existence. I'm not saying that baby girl didn't exist before that, but it's how seriously, concretely we set up our reality, and that's what upsets us. So with emptiness meditation, things dissolve a little bit more fluid, a little bit more relaxed as you go through space. Right? You have to analyze. You have to analyze what's appearing to me. Is that how it really exists? Is that how it really exists? Any questions, comments? I'm sorry we're out of time. But it's really, really helpful to spend some time reading, studying, getting to classes on emptiness, learning how to effectively meditate on emptiness, because it is the thing, very profound part of the philosophy, not easy at first to understand. It does cut the root of the suffering, makes us happier and more peaceful. Is everybody lost or somewhat understand? Okay, it's just so the thing is, if there's an inherent, the way I interpret the pen, again, inherent nature means it's a pen for all beings for all time. It doesn't come from parts. Solidly existing pen there. Okay? It feels that way, but you have to understand how the pen exists as what's called a dependent arising. That means it arises in dependence on other things. That's how it can exist. Okay? Yet it lacks any inherent, concrete, solidified, independent nature. Okay? And because of that, it means it comes from other things. It arises in dependence on other things. You never have emptiness without dependent arising. So you don't want to go to these extremes. One extreme we exist in is our extreme, reification, concretization. That's my pen, my computer, my phone, my kid. That's reification. But solidly existing, imputing that on your kid, on yourself, on your house, whatever it is. And then grasping onto it. Okay? The other extreme is nihilism. Nothing exists. Everything's empty. Okay? So if they say there's no pen there at all, no inherently existent pen there at all, okay? You don't want to throw everything out. I can step in front of the bus because the bus doesn't exist. You'll get killed. You have to practically engage with your reality. So you don't want to go to those extremes. The middle way is things do exist. You do exist right now in a conventional way based on your body and mind. And you have to take care of that. Okay? But you don't want to have such a concretized notion about yourself that keeps your edges sharp. And somebody bumps into you and you're like, hey, somebody bumps into you because there's so many people on this planet and sometimes people bump into you. What's the big deal? Somebody opens their car door into your door. That's going to happen. It's bound to happen. It's the nature of your car. What kinds of things? Your kid gets sick. These are big things. Your partner dies. You get cancer. You're going to see that eye rise up, rear its ugly head. That's the object of negation that you use in emptiness meditation. Okay? When you get very scared, when you get very angry, you see the eye more clearly. Like, hey. Okay? You want to take that object, hold it with a part of your mind, and do the analysis in emptiness meditation. Analyze. Well, that eye feels really concrete. In fact, I feel it here. I feel it here. I feel it here. You feel it somewhere. Go analyze and find it. Look in your body and mind. Look in your body and mind. Can you find the eye in your body and mind? Please use, there's a wonderful meditation in How to Meditate. The book, How to Meditate. Kathleen MacDonald. She's our longest term nun, Venerable Sangye Kadro. But her American name, Kathleen MacDonald. She wrote this book. It's a wonderful meditation guide. Wonderful emptiness meditation in there. Use that meditation. Go over it and over it and over it to understand, how do I think I exist? How do I think I exist? Very, very important in my space. Very important sometimes in the space. So the world has more edges. If I really understand how I do exist, and this strong object appears and I can't find it in the body or mind or outside of that, the edges soften up. Realizing that we are all interdependent. All interdependent. I have karma ripening right now. So I want to very much take care of the activities in my body, speech, and mind. And practice positive activities to create more happiness for me, more ability to penetrate the wisdom realizing emptiness. Because an inherently existent pen would have to be pen for all beings, all things for all time. But if I throw it on the floor and a dog comes in, it's a chew toy. There's no inherently existent pen there at all. Doesn't exist at all like that. Any questions, comments? I hope it's been helpful. I'm sorry for any mistakes or confusion or that we're out of time, but I really hope that's been helpful. And I really enjoyed being here today. I thank you so much for coming. I'd like to dedicate, if there's any positive energy that we've created from spending this time that can help us be happier, more peaceful, to definitely work on reducing our self-cherishing and self-grasping so we can stay on our surfboard and ride the wave, okay? That's what we're trying to do, is find the balance. Find the balance in your life. You've got to do some practice. We move along, okay, as we can. And I'd like to dedicate to our getting enlightened as quickly as possible so we can work perfectly for all Mother Sentient Beings. I'd like to read a dedication prayer on page 32 of the Gold Prayer Book. If you can just borrow a book or look on with somebody. Page 32 from Master Shantideva. We're going to start a couple paragraphs down. May all beings everywhere. Okay. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. The forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Page 244, the Long Life Prayers for His Holiness and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. O gam ri ram we go we jing kam de ben dang de wa ma lu chung we ne chen wei zi guang den jing ga chou yi sha pei si te bar du ten gyo jing. For Lama Zopa Rinpoche in English, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. I'd like to dedicate to peace, for peace on the planet, instantly, and for all those suffering in war and famine, may they be eased of their suffering instantly and know ultimate happiness. For all those who've recently passed away, may they immediately take a good rebirth to get enlightened to benefit all. And for the great flourishing of this center and all the centers and projects of the FPMT. Thank you very, very much for coming. And tomorrow we have a program for families and kids, and pass the word. And I think anybody's really welcome to come. I think she said for pets, and if you have a pet, can do some work. So it'll be quite fun from 10 to 2. Thank you very much.